Yes, hello, my friends. Here we are at the Saturday morning live stream here at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters in Zone 5/6-ish, Northern Indiana. So, we got all kinds of good stuff to talk about today. Let me know where you are at. Let me know how your gardening season is going. Let me know what you've got planted for the fall garden. If you guys are watching this after the fact, let me know what do you got planted and where are you, okay? Because people want to go through a lot of times and read the comments. And so if you can say like, I'm in Georgia, zone whatever it is, and I just planted this or that, for a fall harvest, especially if you have experience with this, then people really appreciate that because that's one of the most difficult things about gardening. And not difficult, but that's one of the most is the timing of everything. So that really is the only major difference between all the zones for the most part when you're talking about growing annuals and vegetables and stuff is the timing of everything. So yeah, let people know. I am here, and then I just planted this, and because we harvested at this date, that's going to be the main difference. But because remember, no matter where you're at, the fundamentals of gardening are the same. The soil food web works the same. Yes? Let me see who's here. Dono Thamano, hello, my friend. Scarecrow Valley, on the go, hello. Case, beautiful day in central Pennsylvania. Buddha, hello, my friend. Bonjour. Ursula, hello, my friend, says, I am ready for the cooler seasons. This year has been jam-packed. I'm looking forward to downshifting gears. Yes, how many of us can appreciate as fall and winter comes? Yes, there's a little bit of, the summer is coming to an end, but at the same time, then comes the time where you get to go within and sort of hibernate a bit more. Yes, the fall time is such a great time of harvesting. So much abundance in the fall time. The potatoes are getting cured. The winter squash are getting cured and eaten. The dry corn is coming off the stalks and getting shucked and stored. The dried beans are getting separated. And just so many things. The onions, yes, just yesterday, we took the onions from their drying state. If you watch that video where they were on the rack and they were hanging upside down, and now several weeks later, we have taken them and you cut the roots off, but you have to make sure that you leave a good portion of the stem. Because if you don't, then moisture can get up in there. If you try to cut it real short, you can get moisture in there and stuff, and it will not store as long. So you will also want to cut the roots off of the garlic as well. And don't take only if the outside skin comes off easily. You just kind of give it a gentle brush. But you don't actually peel any of the layers off. So you just kind of whoosh, and if it falls off, then that's good. And so these will store for a long time. And you want to cut the roots off because otherwise the roots are going to, if your storage place becomes really humid, the roots will want to seek out the moisture and it can make them not store as long. So we cut the roots off and these will store a long time. So yeah, that's another thing of why this time of year is actually fantastic. So let us see here. Who do we got? All right. Whole bunch of comments already. Okay, let's see here. Vanice says, yes, I have set my alarm for 1:45 a.m. Sunday here in Townsville, North Queensland, Australia to finally catch the live. Good to see you here. That is, look, 1:45 a.m. That is commitment. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see. Lori says, I don't agree. The coils brought several plants that were destroyed in shipping back to health. Try the coils with sick plants. Yeah, guys. So we can finally discuss the electroculture stuff, the craze, and what I now understand is the mythical electroculture. This type of electroculture. But I didn't say in the video though, the results video. But I'm not sure, but I believe that there are types of utilizing electrical current to stimulate the growth of plants. But it's not this type. It is not this type. Okay. So yeah, after we get situated a little bit, we can discuss that in depth. So get all your questions ready, get your arguments ready, but more importantly, get your pictures of all your results of the electroculture. Get those ready, because as I've got so many comments and correspondence from you guys and emails and stuff, and but virtually zero like actual proof of what you're talking about. Okay, so, and in fact, I'm gonna read you some of the comments. Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with it. So I'm gonna read you some of the comments on some of the other videos. Okay, so because I've been quiet on it all season long, just watching it all happen and then doing my own experiment, just so that we know for sure. Okay. So let us see who is here. And TC Hello says, good morning from the great state of Alaska. What zone is that? And when is your first frost date? When is you guys' first frost dates? Let me know. TC says, I mailed those berry bushes out to you, Nate. Should be there by Monday or Tuesday. I have the tracking number if you want. Okay, good. Thank you very much, my friend. So yes, I could utilize that tracking number just so that I know, because I have to go to the post office and check the box, so that I know when they're there, so that I don't leave them sitting any longer than they absolutely need to be. And Brian, hello my friend, says, good morning Nate and all from the great state of Kansas. Susanna says, still have my summer garden. Very nice. Creative Soil says, Nate, could you do a SOP for home gardens? SOP, what is that? What is SOP? What's up, Big Wes? And Dano Damano says, I'm 6'3", 185. How many velvet beans should I eat? Velvet beans. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about runner beans? Is that what you mean by that? Standard operating procedure. Okay, SOP. Okay, but now what was the question? Oh man, they're coming. There's a boom, 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 boom. But what is the SOP? Okay, Nate, could you do a standard operating procedure for home gardens? Well, what do you mean? Well, really, okay, standard operating procedure for home gardens is going to be the book, guys. Once all the craziness of the season is kind of dwindles down a bit, I am focusing all my efforts on writing the gardening book, the first of a number of gardening books. But the first one is going to be, it's basically will be all the videos from this channel, most of the videos distilled even more to their essence with pictures and very clear and concise. And this is the vision. And so that will really be the thing that you'll want to get, because that's going to have it all laid out for you so that you can see it, the progress, it's all about the layout. It's all about the layout and the clarity and the simplicity and the knowledge, of course, distilled. And so that's what you want to look for, because otherwise, if you've watched every single video on this channel that I've put out, then you'll know already what the operating procedure is for your garden, definitely. So let us see here. Good morning, busy girl. Christine says, UK, lovely gardening weather today. Definitely. Scott Miller says, so happy electroculture is a bust. Thought my tribe was going to have to wear pyramid-shaped foil garden helmets. Yeah, none of that going on here, guys, because we have a thorough understanding of the soil food web and of how things actually function in the soil. And while we are open to many new ideas, of course, we can discern, and we can experiment and see for ourselves, what is actually happening and what is actually the case. But that's why I've withheld commenting, withheld judgment on it for several months now, because I had to know for sure. And based upon my experience, if you guys watch the video, which I'm sure all of you have, then you will know that, yeah. So let us see here. Dano says, have you ever thought about joining the Homesteading Life Conference with Off Grid with Doug and Stacy and David the Good? It's a real neat thing that's too far from Florida for me. Where is it at? Yeah, I never even heard of it. I don't know about it. I'm not entirely sure about it. Let's see here. Hello, Alexander. From dentist to farmer. Nice. Says, hi, Nate. I made FPJ. It doesn't smell bad at all, but I had lemon rinds in it. Do you think lemon is a problem in the FPJ? So, fermented plant juice in the KNF tradition. So you really don't, the whole thing, that would be fermented fruit juice, FJ more so, because fermented, the FPJ needs to be, you're essentially extracting enzymes and growth hormone auxin from the plants. And growth hormones, with auxin being one of the most prominent ones, situates itself at the furthest growing tip of the plant. That's why the plant wants to grow. And so you want to get, for the FPJ, you really want to get stuff that is, you really want to make them in the spring when things are really bursting with growth and pressing heavily, you know, that mad rush in the springtime, so that they have all the concentrations of the growth hormones that you want. And then we will, I'll make a video on it in the springtime. Kind of missed it this year, but I will make a video on FPJ in the springtime. But you want to make sure that the stuff is really vigorous and thriving. So the lemon rinds are not going to be what you want. That's not going to have the hormones in it. That's not going to have the plant growth regulating enzymes and all of the stuff that you really want. Old Town says, Nate, are you ready for the heat wave coming to Zone 5? Yeah, I know, man. Looking at this forecast, this is not what we like to see. This is not what we like to see. But you know what? It's all about creating resilience. The garden has to be resilient. That's the whole reason for creating this channel, is to create food resilience. If there's a disruption somewhere, or if you need to sort of supplement your food intake, your food, the acquisition of food, then you have the knowledge to do it, you know, and you can do it. Even if you don't currently have enough space to be growing a significant portion of your food, you still need to do it so that you understand the principles and you understand the techniques and all of this stuff, because there's a huge learning curve, guys. How many of you guys know when people have, yeah, we're going to have a big garden this year, and they till up a big ground and they do conventional rows and open earth and stuff, and then in no time they have a huge garden of weeds, just a bunch of weeds. But then they'll try to convince themselves, well, see, weeds are I'm more about foraging now. That's what most people, I'm more about foraging. And for most people, that means that my garden or my growing plot has totally become unmanageable and overrun with weeds. So now I'm going to call it foraging, and we're going to eat the purslane, and we're going to eat the dandelion greens. Yeah, see, and then that's going to be, which I get it, and that's cool. You know, that's cool. But those aren't going to be the foraging stuff, guys. Good luck foraging calories, the amount of calories that you need, okay? So we need to, when we're talking about sustenance gardening, you need to focus on growing the calorie crops. You need to be growing potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, beans, corn, beets, carrots, onions, garlic, which are life force and phytonutrients, all of that stuff. Okay, so letting your garden go to weeds and calling it foraging or calling it permaculture is not, you know, I'm not against any of that stuff, but I'm just, this is my comical take on it, because I've seen so many of the food forests and the permaculture stuff, and people want to show me, and it's like, okay, great, but where in this mix is the food? You know, it's like there's a couple, these couple berries here and there, and you can eat this couple of nuts from here and there. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But all I really see is a bunch of weeds that is zapping the energy from your food producing plants, and you don't have any like intentional vegetables and calorie crops, you know? So, yeah, I could go on and on about that. But anyways, so the Grant says, because of Nate, I've spent just 2 hours or so all growing season pulling weeds. Listen to that, guys. That is what it's all about, really. Grant says, because of Nate, I've spent just 2 hours all growing season pulling weeds. And that's what it's all about, because you want the highest, your system needs to create the highest calorie output for the lowest calorie input. You understand? When we think of sustenance gardening, it's all about calories, because there is nothing, I mean, vitamins and minerals, all very important, but without calories, it's not going to mean anything, because calories is the actual gasoline, the actual sunlight, you know, for us. And so, oh, sorry about that. I lost my train of thought here, because I just got so excited about calorie crops. And and then I was trying to look at the forecast real quick. And yeah, this is not what you want to see, okay? This is not what you want to see, all right? Just a bunch of sun and temps in the 90s, in the mid to high 90s. That's not what the gardener wants to see, okay? There was a donation up here, my friend, from Dentist to Farmer, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. First tip of the day. I appreciate the contribution. Dano the Mono says, weeds are good. Yes, of course. Weeds are good. And if you watch my video titled, There Are No Weeds, then you can understand the perspective of truly of that. But when it comes to growing the most amount of calories, weeds they can zap energy away big time. So that is what it's all about, is growing the maximum amount of calories out for the amount of calories in. Meaning that the lowest amount of work that you have to do to get the highest amount of produce. That is the system that you want to adopt. And there's several videos on this channel showing you exactly how to do that. Let's see. Okay, so harvest those, Mystic says, harvest those weeds and feed them to your crops. Definitely, you can do that, yes. CC's Texas Garden says, we are in the hundreds since last week. Ooh, yeah. Is that a humid 100, or is that like a Northern California 100 where it's like bone dry? Is that a Morocco 100? When I was riding my bike through Morocco, it was very hot in the Sahara, the West Sahara, but it was a different kind of heat. You don't sweat. Whereas like here, we get southern heat or southern humidity still. So it's like humid. So it's like, oh man. And then, oh yeah, I mean, I spent a summer in New Orleans, some time there. And that was like, if I could create the conditions of like what I would consider hell, that would be it. You know, New Orleans in the middle of summer, just blazing hot, and the humidity is so oppressive that you just don't even want to breathe, because what you're breathing in is hotter than what you're breathing out, and more moist. And so, yeah, it's just, that's not for me. This Viking does not like that far south, okay? Give me the cold, I can handle the cold, no problem. No problem. Karen says, hello, my friends. Glad to be here today. We're glad you're here too. Buddha says, hey man, we make up for it with food and culture and, oh yes, definitely. Oh, no problem. I don't mean to give that's no disrespect to Louisiana or Arkansas or any of them guys. That's more giving you props. That's saying, I just don't know how you do it. I mean, I do know. It's adaptation, of course. The blood thins out and stuff like that. When I lived in Thailand, I lived on the island of Koh Tao in Thailand for over a year. And when I first arrived, it was super hot to me. Everything was so hot. And I was taking cold showers all the time and stuff. But then as the months went on and I acclimatized to the environment, I was having to take, I was sometimes paying to take hot showers at this one place. And I was like, I almost had to start wearing a wetsuit, as when I first got there and was diving, I was just in my BCD and board shorts. because it was so warm. 81 degrees was the water. So, but then by the time, then my blood was like thinning out, you know, it's just, you adjust. So Cynthia says, fertilizer question. Once you have diluted the fertilizer to the right proportions, how much do you give each plant? Maybe you could explain by amount of fertilizer per square footage. Okay, so I actually never ever use that per square footage, and I don't recommend anything by square footage of surface area, because it totally depends. Because I have one summer squash plant. If you watch the electroculture video, you'll see the plants. One summer squash plant is 7 feet across, you know, and 4 feet high. All right. And so the square footage of that one plant is going to be it's just going to be different than if I planted beets, where there's going to be, you know, 30 or 40 beets in that same square footage, you know, so it doesn't really correlate. That's why I say dilute it to the point where you would apply that amount of water if you were going to water the plants. So water them good. You use a lot. You end up using quite a bit of the fertilizer. And so you want to use as much as you would typically water in the plants, nice and deep. Yeah. So here, well, I don't even want to get started with thinking about square footages and stuff, because it's kind of irrelevant. So the let's see here. Okay, you guys are having your side conversation. That's good. Diana Nunn says, Cynthia, I'm not sure you can give too much of the natural fertilizers. The plants take up what they need and leave the rest. It's one of the beauties of this system. Oh, absolutely. Yes. So it really doesn't. Yeah, that's a good point. It really doesn't matter that much. As long as you dilute it to relatively the proper ratio, and even those you can play with, then everything's going to be totally fine. It's not like if you're switching over from traditional, the new traditional, like chemical-based fertilizers and stuff, then you need to, with the chemical stuff, you really have to be on point, because you can easily burn the plants. But if you are using the natural ones, then you really don't need to. You really don't need to worry about burning them, because they don't function in the same way, not at all. And so you can apply them often, not a problem. Let's see. Adam says, molasses. If the sulfur content is 0.01, why the concern? Have you seen something I haven't? I've seen no effect on microbial life at such low levels. Microbes are incredibly hardy. So you're talking about using unsulfured molasses as opposed to regular molasses. Why would you argue for using sulfured molasses? Is there a purpose to that? Because using the unsulfured molasses, typically if you're getting organic stuff, it's all going to be unsulfured. So they're not going to have the sulfur in it. That's the main reason why I always say use unsulfured molasses, because the good quality organic stuff is going to be always unsulfured. And so, I mean, for the most part, as far as I'm aware. But if you have some reason where you really want to use sulfured molasses, go ahead and use it. You know, but I have found that it's just best to use unsulfured in anything that you're trying to culture more microorganisms. Yes, Nita, it's been a long time. She says, hello, I've been missing lives. Glad to be here. Same time, same place. Freebird, hello, my friend. Dano the Mono says, you need sulfites in the dirt. Yes, absolutely. Sulfur is great for plants, definitely. And if you're using all the natural fertilizers and things like that, then you will have absolutely all the sulfur that you need. And most of the soil anyways is going to contain all of the elements that it needs, including sulfur. including iodine, including everything. All the stuff in the clay is going to be there. The clay, the soil. Soil, remember, is a combination of sand, silt, and clay with microbes added. Yes, and so long as you have the microorganisms to process everything, then it will be absolutely fine, and you will be able to have as much sulfur as the plants need. Yes, definitely. Onions, garlic, and potatoes love the sulfur, definitely. I have applied a couple of times the JDOM sulfur just to add the sulfur to the soil. Yes, just a couple of times throughout several years. Ben T says, huge bummer. What's the huge bummer, my friend? Says Ben says, I'm here late, suffering watermelons and cantaloupes bursting in the garden. Oh man, they must have got a downpour. They must have had a downpour, huh? Deanna says, I've had the most amazing results having started your system with JDOM about mid-July. I cannot wait until next year with added biochar and multiple treatments of microbiology and the labs. Nice. Sounds like you're on the right track, my friend. Scott Miller, I do not, says Nate, do you grow hibiscus for your tea? It's great. I do not. No. I just haven't got into it yet. Don't have the space here, but this is the ironwort, also known as the Greek mountain tea, with some lavender and some honey. It's super delicious. And let us see here. Isn't sulfur important for potatoes? Yes, sulfur is important. Definitely, sulfur is important. I'm not sure how we got on that topic, but you don't really need to add much sulfur. If you've made the JDOM sulfur, just apply it a couple of times at the appropriate dilution rate, and that's going to have all the additional sulfur that you would even need. And yes, that is one reason that we get nice, pungent onions and garlic is due to the sulfur in the soil, which most soils will have enough sulfur anyways. It's not something that you really need to focus on that, oh no, I need to get a soil test and then start adding a bunch of sulfur. You don't really have to do that. If you just utilize the soil food web, have high organic matter, you're gonna have enough of everything. So, but yes, the sulfur is what makes the onions keep, because the sulfur is what makes them pungent. So the more pungent the onion, the longer it will store. The sweeter onions like the Vidalias and things tend to not store very long at all because they don't have as much of the sulfur in it. Scott Miller says, recipe is where for the mountain tea? That's actually the name of the herb, Greek mountain tea. When I was living in Greece, they drink this tea all the time, but I thought it was a combination of different wild plants, but it's actually only one plant. And they dry it and they drink this tea all the time. And so I found it in the States, but it goes by the name ironwort instead. So that's all it is, steeped, boiled in water for about 5 minutes, and then a pinch of lavender flowers. Let's see here. I think that there was a Queen RB, $20. Thank you very much for the tip, my friend. I appreciate your contribution. William says, potatoes can't be exposed to sunlight for too long. That's right. They will turn green. You do not want that. Kevin says, hey, Nate, what would you consider the most complete compost/fertilizer mix to add in the fall? Currently adding biochar and worm bin liquid to my hot compost and would like to add more amendments. Okay, so in the fall time, I've made several videos last fall illustrating this, but in the fall time, as it approaches, you want to add the organic matter. So the liquid fertilizers are good, they're great, but that we call additional fertilizer. So watch the video that I made in the springtime of this year, I think, called Your Natural Fertilizer Regimen for 2023. And where I explain that you have what is called the base fertilizer and then the additional fertilizers. So the base fertilizer is the most important of all, and that is what you put in the soil. And that is things like the manures, in particular manures, and also crop residue. You can put the crop residues there. So for example, what I did for the peppers and the tomatoes last year was at the very end of the season, right, like once the frost had almost killed them, I mowed them down. I cut them down and literally mowed them, chopped with the push mower, right in place. And then I added a little bit of horse manure, and then I planted a cover crop, crimson clover and winter rye, on top of that, and it grew. And so then in the springtime, I cut it down, and everything is just mega healthy. If you want a garden tour, check out the electroculture video that I made just recently. And that's pretty much a garden tour. But, you know, there's more to it, of course. But so, yeah, that would be the most important, what you put into the soil in the fall time. And if you want to plant the cover crops, definitely. But watch the videos that I've made on that stuff. It's very important that you utilize them right. Let's see here. And where, oh, 8A Gardening and Clay, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, what's your take on a little bit of pink/white mold on my sauerkraut? The brine dropped below the top of the batch. Yeah, well, so you're talking about, well, you can try and remove it. So long as the brine is there, that's the thing, man. So long as the brine is there, it cannot spoil, really, if the brine is made properly. But what's above the brine can spoil. And so, yes, sometimes it happens that you get the white and the pink mold on the sauerkraut in particular. Now, I don't know. Some people will disagree with this. Some people will say, it's dangerous, throw away the whole thing. So, you know, consult your doctor or whatever kind of thing. This is not legal advice, you know, all that kind of stuff. But personally, I'm not going to throw away a whole batch of sauerkraut because I see a little bit of pink mold on top. Personally, I'm just going to scrape it off, discard it, and make sure everything is submerged in the brine. But make sure you discard that mold before you do that in the brine. That's what I personally would do. Should you do that? I don't know. That's up to you. Let's see here. Deanna, $20. Thanks, guys, for the tips, man. I appreciate your time, experience, and wisdom on so many levels. Much luck and love to your endeavors. Thank you very much, my friend. So, yes, and by the endeavors, they mean the gardening, the video making, the books that are coming out, the campus, the on-site school that we are getting in the future, all of this kind of stuff. It is all on the horizon for us, my friends. So let's see here. Masabi says, I try to focus on building the best soil, compost, extracts, worms, and paying attention. Absolutely. That is what is important. And let's see here. I started, Bell G says, I started a JDOM liquid fertilizer a couple weeks ago. I added worm casting, weeds, garden scraps, tons of leaves from our tree. Wonder how this magic juice will turn out. Sounds like it'll turn out pretty good, but it's going to have to digest. It's going to have to digest for a while. So you want to, ideally, guys, with the JDOM things, I know I've said this before, but you can start using it after just a few weeks. But ideally, you want to make it the season before. So as your season is kind of coming to a close in the next month or two, take the materials that have been grown and begin a fertilizer for next year. Because ideally, you want the microorganisms to consume all the plant material and all the stuff, and the molds and all kinds of stuff will explode and they will decompose. But then when the microorganisms are, once all the food is consumed, then they will die. The microorganisms will, or at least go dormant. But what they leave behind is the activity from their bodies, their excrement, their skeletons. All of that is going to be super nourishing for the plants. So let's see. Nikita Van Hoos says that woman claims electroculture healed unhealthy plants, but how does she know electroculture had anything to do with it? I heal stuff up all the time without it. Yes, my friend, this is exactly correct. And in fact, when I have been keeping my ear and my eyes to this electroculture thing all season extensively. And I see so many things. You know how when there's like a scam, I'm not calling it a scam, okay? I'm not calling electroculture a scam or anything, but I am saying, guys, let me know if I missed a comment or if I missed a tip up there. It's kind of maybe saying me that I did. Did I? No, I don't think so. I'm not saying that electroculture is a scam, okay, but I am just saying that the words, the verbiage, the stuff that is used. Yes, Don Gilcreasy, $20. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate your now weekly contributions, and this is very inspiring. So thank you. I'm not saying that it's a scam or anything like that, but I am just saying that when the people use the type of language that of like miracles, you know, they use the type of, guys, when I put out that electroculture video, there's like more comments by far than any other video that I've ever put out, and more engagement and more. So you go to the comments, and I scan those comments. You know, I read all the comments, even if I don't respond. I always can read them. There was just more bickering in those comments, more petty little things in those comments, and just definitely. So there's people make just outlandish claims. So I'm just going to read some of them. So see, I just took them, and I'm just going to read some of these comments to you guys, because I've been quiet on this all season long, just biting my lip, thinking, okay, what is going on here? Because none of this makes any sense at all. It would absolutely, if this kind of electroculture worked, like people are claiming that it works, then I would quit. I would just throw out, I would say, okay, I don't know any, let's just forget it. Throw out all the books, throw out all the knowledge, throw it all out, and just put some of these in the ground. That's all you need to do. You know, all the experience, all my life experience gives me the gut feeling that this is a joke, is a scam, okay? But still, I put it to the test. I said, okay, but maybe there is something to it. So let us see. And put them all over the place, not just the ones you saw in the video. I have many other ones all around. I have several different garden projects going on, and they were all the same, guys. Absolutely zero difference whatsoever. And I even made sure that some of them were wound the wrong way, supposedly, so that they would be pulling energy from the plants. But then I put some the right way, clockwise facing down, so they'd be giving energy. None of it makes one bit of difference. The ones with the pulling the thing didn't make it so that it was less healthy. Nothing. My plants always thrive, okay? But then also, there's just huge variations in plants. And so let me just read some of these comments, okay? And this is how, this is, the electroculture thing is totally bizarre, what it's done to the gardening community on the internet. And how obsessed people were. Guys, and if you're one of these people, don't take this personal, okay? But I'm just using this as an example. But so many people have sent me emails and DMs on Instagram and Facebook and stuff about their electroculture stuff, showing me these huge antennas with all this. They look like sculptures. I mean, they're beautiful. They're really. But then they're like, and look, and they're showing me their garden, and I'm like, what? I mean, okay, you know, it's you got plants and stuff. So, but what you're describing to me is just plants growing. There's nothing special about those plants. I don't want to tell them that, you know, because, but okay. So this person commented, said, and just listen to the whimsical, miraculous nature sound of it all, okay? So we've been doing copper antennas in our garden for the past 18 months. Results are amazing. Bigger fruit and veggies, larger yield, zero bugs, snails stay away. 20 foot high makes the big difference. Simply put, it works. Okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, okay, can you send me pictures of that? Can you send me, how do you know that any of this, and then radio silence. Absolutely no response, okay? And that was on the original video. So these are on the original video that I put out saying I'm going to try it, okay? And then here's another comment. It says, my grandmother did this all my life. She, growing up through the Depression, the Great Depression, she told me this is how they grow bigger crops. In the north, it should be placed in the southern side of the plants. Okay, guys, I have seen that identical comment on several other electroculture videos. I mean, word for word. I take pictures of this stuff because this is my profession now. You know, YouTube and all of this stuff, this is my profession. I take it dead serious, you know? And so I look at these and I say, okay, so I take a screenshot of it and then I go back and I correlate it on this other video that I remember, and it's word for word the exact same comment by another user. So it doesn't make any sense. People are just, that doesn't, okay. Here's another one on the original one, and says, it is an amazing difference. A friend, of course, a friend planted a control group and then did the copper wire antenna next to the other plants of the same variety. The difference is astonishing. Okay, my friend, can you send me pictures of this? Radio silence, nothing, okay? And then very below that, I found wood sticks in my yard and wrapped copper wire around them in a spiral going up. My plants this year are noticeably taller and more lush than any other year. They literally doubled in height. Okay, can you send me pictures? Silence. But what this person is describing is a plant growing. They literally doubled in height. There's literally more leaves than there was 2 weeks ago. It's electroculture. No, it's not, guys. It's the plants growing. Focus on the soil food web. And that is everything that you need. It is so human of people to want a hack. They think that, well, we're so clever. Humans are so clever that we can do better than nature, that we can dominate nature in some way. So let us use copper, one of the most toxic, environmentally destructive things that has happened to the human endeavor is copper mining. And so let us use more copper, and that's going to subdue nature and force nature to give us double and triple the yields because we're so clever. No, human, no, my friend, it's not that way. You observe nature, and nature has perfected it. There's no need for any of this kind of stuff, pumping electrical current into the ground and all that kind of stuff. There's no need for any of that, okay? So I know some of you probably want me to move on from this topic, but we're gonna talk about it, okay? And we're gonna talk about it as much as we need to in the future, all right? Because this is important. And a person in my position needs to address this. It needs to have this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So now listen, here's another person. Been applying electroculture in my backyard veggie garden in Melbourne. The growth rate is astounding and the plants are all strong, full, and vibrant. I use magnetic basalt dust. Okay, guys. But now here's another one. And listen how it's all just like this miracle language. This person says, I've been doing this for a year. I have shockingly huge plants and massive yields. I am still amazed. And then 250 thumbs up on that, okay? So I'm like, okay, can you send me pictures of that? And nothing. Nobody ever does because they can't. And so that's the thing that is leads me to the whenever you ask people, okay, how does this work? How does this work? Okay, and this person responded to me when it told me how it works. The electroculture said, the antenna is not picking nutrients from the air. It's charging and activating ions surrounding it. Bacteria and other microorganisms respond to that. Even earthworms are reported to respond to that. Okay, what does respond mean? But anyways, microorganisms, fungi, and other beneficial organisms are the ones that make nutrients bioavailable to the plant. Yes, I know that. That's a foundation of my whole philosophy because that's what nature does. So with more negative ions in play around the antenna, those organisms gather and bring the nutrients with them. The soil tends to hold moisture better. No, they don't. No, it doesn't. That's not how it works. Okay, I'm not afraid to say that. So the antenna produces a magnetic field that also influences organisms around it, including plants. Depending on the type of antenna, it offers a more or less effective protection against pests and diseases. Okay, this is what I hear. The magnetic field, it creates a magnetic field, the magnetic resonance. Okay, what does that mean? It's a thought-stopping technique is what it is. When people say these kind of things, that's like, okay, well, that's a fact. It creates, because their influence. You see, the microorganisms are reported to influence around it. Guys, it doesn't work like that. Listen, in physics or in the natural world that we live in, there is no free lunch. You don't get anything for free, okay? You can't build something from nothing. And things exist in a harmonious balance in the natural cycle until man starts to mess with it and stuff. But so even if these claims were true and suddenly my plants are astonishingly big, which that's not true, or maybe they are just because it's a good growing year. But if your plants are astonishingly big and they grew 3 times faster than the other plants, where are those things coming from? What are you throwing out of balance? And I'm saying if it did work, which it doesn't, but not this type of electroculture doesn't work, okay? But if it did, then where is all of that stuff coming from? And where are the nutrients coming from? And what are you throwing out of balance? What are you gonna deplete faster than would normally happen? What are you going to, so all that stuff creates a waste product. You know what I'm saying? So where did the waste go? How can, after years of using this miraculous electroculture, where would all of this, the vastly sped up waste products accumulate? So there's all these questions and nobody can ever answer them because it's all thought-stopping techniques. Well, it's the electromagnetic force field that it pulls out. No, that's not how it works. Okay, so I have talked about it. So let's see what some of you guys are saying. Okay, that guy Chris says, the only time I've seen electroculture likely work is using lots of juice running through a buried line high voltage wire. A super strong magnetic field added to what the Earth already has. Right, which is why I'm saying that there may be some kind of, and I have heard of that. I've never seen it or experienced it, but of utilizing actual like grid electricity, and running electricity through stuff, and it does stimulate growth. But this, again, I've only heard this over the years, and still you have to beg the question, where do those building blocks come from? Where, if it's happening so much faster, what are you throwing out of balance? What are you depleting faster than would normally happen? So you have to ask these questions, but nobody is, because it's like they're either this kind of thing is real popular with the guys who did really well in like high school chemistry class and high school engineering. Those kind of guys love this sort of stuff because it's something that they can really grasp onto in the natural world, something that otherwise they might not have a good grasp on. So they're gonna really go hardcore with this. Now there's one channel, okay? There's one channel that I really respect, Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, okay? He has had a lot of good information over the years, and his understanding of the soil food web is great. That's why I was astonished when I saw him trying to tout the benefits of electroculture. And I watched his videos, my jaw was dropping as I watched his video. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You are seriously promoting these untold, but man, he's the engineer kind of guy. You know what I mean? Probably got straight A's in school and stuff like that. Very, very smart in that way. And so he wants that to work. And so he's like kind of claiming that it works. But again, I watched the videos where he's claiming the results and all that, and it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry, Mark. Otherwise, I very much respect your opinion. So, yeah, a little bit passionate about it, guys, because I had to just be quiet all season as this whole thing was unfolding. And, I am very in tune with the gardening world online because that's what I do now. So, you have to... okay, so a lot of you guys commenting on this stuff, okay? Let's see. Brian says, Nate, it might be time for narrators. I think you mean moderators. A lot of this is trolls' behavior. Your success will bring them out like rats on a sinking ship. Oh, you mean a lot of these comments? When you guys say trolls, do you mean that they're like just negative people, or do you mean they're like actual bots, that they're not even real people? Because I would believe that, definitely. In fact, because when you go to these people's channel, the people that make super ridiculous, outlandish statements, you go to their channel, of course, they don't have any videos. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't have, and it all just kind of, they got a couple just, you know, fake, weird looking, it just doesn't feel right because I'm human. So I see it and I'm like, well, that doesn't just feel right, you know? So yeah, now there might be a couple more that I want to read to you guys, but everything that I'm doing, everything I read to you guys has a purpose, okay? I'm not just rambling about something. This has a purpose, okay? Now, now listen to this guy, okay? Listen to this, just doesn't even sound real, all right? I'm just gonna read you this comment that was on that video. As soon as I posted it, this video came up. Said, I've been gardening for 40 plus years at this point. Last year, a friend sent me on this information on electroculture. So I spent part of the winter making the poles. I started my seeds with small ones in the early spring indoors. And then when it came time to plant, placed throughout the various gardens. I haven't used any pesticides this year as I haven't needed to. No damage from insects of any of my plants. I've also noticed that the pollinators and birds are constantly sitting on the poles and coils at the top, which I found very interesting. So far, my garden is off the charts. I harvested my garlic 2 months earlier than I ever have. I'm now on my second planting of beets. There's just so much harvest that I'm now giving it away, as well as all my herbs. I don't even have to be a physicist or a botanist for that matter to know that this works. And to be honest, I didn't believe it at first either. But seeing is believing, and boy, am I ever glad that I took that leap of faith. And so is the local food bank. So is the local food bank. That's a real comment, okay? So guys, do you hear the miraculous, outlandish? That's like those bot comments that you hear where people are like, I cured my herpes, or I got $50,000 a week by investing with Dr. So-and-so. That's what that sounds like. That doesn't sound real, okay? So, of course, now, this is most of this electroculture. This is what it is, okay? Is when he says, I also noticed that the pollinators and birds are consistently sitting on top of the poles and the coils which I've made, which is very interesting. Okay, so he's gonna say electroculture is attracting all the birds because see, they're sitting on top of it. No, it could be that there is no other perch for the bird. And it could be that the birds just sit on top of secure posts like that. That doesn't mean anything. And so, so, okay. Can you see where I've gone with, do you get my opinion? I think you can catch my drift. Let's see. Zena Lorena says, why such short antenna? I've never seen anyone else do it like that. Because, well, I also did these. Yeah, don't worry. I was not limiting. I was making dang sure that I was confirming my own gut instincts, which this is all, you know, blasphemous now. But yeah, see, I made these longer ones, about 4 feet long. Got all these little spindly things at top, harnessing the ether atmosphere. No, it doesn't work. Doesn't do anything whatsoever. These ones didn't do anything. The other ones didn't do anything. And the reason that I made them like this is because the guy from Cultivate Elevate just says, I mean, he doesn't really give much even direction. He just basically says wrap copper around a stick or whatever and put them all over the garden. And then you just don't have to use fertilizers. You don't have to water. You don't have to do all these outlandish claims, okay? And yeah, that guy Chris says, Nate, tell us how much you love electroculture. Okay, so the let's see here. Nasabi says, Nate, okay, says, beware, Nate. Trolls, distractors like that will take the focus off your show and make you lose viewers. Oh, I absolutely understand. And we're not going to focus on this stuff, but this has been bottled up for 3 months now. So this is why we're talking about this, okay? So this is why we're talking about this, because I've just been sitting here going, okay, guys, as they're electroculture, man, you just put these antennas, you don't gotta fertilize, man, just throw out all the books and everything. No, that's not how reality works, okay? So I made all these antennas, and then there's a guy that, because Danny from Deep South Homestead, another person that I deeply, I over the years have respected his opinion. I respect what he has to say. I like what he has going on there. I would love to visit his farm someday. But for some reason, he is touting the benefits of electroculture. But his friend who sells these, who has a YouTube channel, who sells these, his buddy or whatever, who sells the antennas, that's all the bigger they are. They just look like this. And they're like 4 for $25 or something like that. And you're supposed to put them every 3 feet throughout your garden. So you got to buy you better buy a lot, especially if you're doing any substantial size garden. And so it's, so you put these in there, and that's all that is required. And the guy who sells these, Danny's buddy, he wants to show you the proof, okay? He wants to show you the proof of the electroculture. So he's got 2 rows of like 20-gallon pots, or maybe they're 10-gallon pots. And on this row, he's got electroculture. On this row, no electroculture. And you can clearly see the difference, obviously, that this side with the electroculture antennas is much more robust, okay? But look, guys, if I was selling these, okay, and I had a whole thing set up where I was selling these, do you think that I would put the antennas on this side and then maybe just accidentally forget to fertilize the other side, but remember to fertilize the side with these antennas? Because, oh yeah, I forgot to fertilize. That's right, I got busy and something, yeah. Maybe that is why those are so much more robust, is because you added the triple 20 to it. That's probably it. So, okay, guys. Okay. So, there's my thing on that, guys. Right. Sue Miller says Hills Mills. Yeah, I think that's the channel. And this is nothing. I'm not personally attacking these people or their character or anything like that. I'm not saying anything about them as a person. I don't know them at all. I just know what I see through YouTube. And I have a special affinity for being hustled, because I was a world traveler for 10 years. And so I've been to these cultures in India. I drove a motorcycle through India on 2 separate expeditions, and I was there 3 separate times. And the culture is so aggressive, everyone trying to hustle you, because I'm white, And so I became really, really sensitive to all of that. And so now my radar that says, uh-oh, you're trying to be hustled, is very, very accurate. Very accurate. After so many years of being in it, then now, like towards the last couple years of my traveling career, I was never getting hustled, ever. Because I just exude the energy that you're not going to hustle me. And I can listen to, I can sense and pick up on the cues. And so the last couple years was just hustle free, virtually. Very different than the first few years, okay? But so that's what I'm using. That's what I'm saying, is that my BS gauge is going on red alert when anything comes to these things. So that's what I'm saying, all right? So not saying anything about their personality or any of that, okay? Let's see. Link says, oh, good to see her, man. Says, oh, come on, Nate. There you go again, confusing the issue with the facts. Right. And increasingly so, facts still matter here. In this household, on this channel, facts matter, definitely. Because you can't manipulate the facts, And so, there you go. So, Brother Norb says, that's why Viking fits you. Oh man, the fire is always there. It's always there. It's just, we just keep it all simmering. Let's see here. Dano says yes. Dano, BS radar, yes, definitely. Says Mark Smith says anything to make a buck. Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you're looking at stuff in life and you're thinking, wow, that just sounds too good to be true, investigate it a little bit further and ask yourself, who is benefiting from this? Okay, primarily financially. If it's not financially directly, it can just be views. It can just be driving views and engagement to your channel because it's building your brand. Even if your brand's a fake kind of brand, then it's just driving more stuff. So you have to ask, say, okay, well, the person that is promoting these is selling them, okay? And his buddy, who has an established YouTube channel and a homestead channel, who's promoting them, has a link in the description to where you can buy them. So, okay, so hey, look, I'll give you $1 for each one because I'm selling them for $6. I'll give you $1 for each one that people use your link. How about that? So I'm just saying that can happen. I'm not saying that's how it happened, but there are links in the description of the videos to where you can buy these, of their videos, not of my videos. So you just have to be sensitive to that kind of stuff, guys, and ask who is getting, and ask who is benefiting, you know, because there's so many people that are trying to make a paycheck by manipulating your opinion in some way. Yes. So Dano says propaganda doesn't work on people like us. Absolutely. Once you see through it and you can sense it, then you definitely, right? Donna said it's 101 here in Texas. Man, you guys are getting blasted with that hotness, huh? Tuloco says, R.I.P. Nate, the fellas on the black suits are going to knock on his door. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, my friends. I had to leave that life behind. So anyways, Look to Nature says, I have used the dried organic sheets of seaweed before with great effect. Amazing growth stimulant. Yes, kelp is a wonderful growth stimulant. So if you are making that is actually a part of the component for my aerated compost teas and for the Viking granular fertilizer, because kelp has in it all kinds of different beneficial plant growth regulating enzymes. So yes, seaweed is fantastic. Here in northern Indiana, we're not getting fresh seaweed though. So we have to get it in the dried form. Yes. Matt G says, bro, you just keep talking about fake electroculture. Talk about the real. Okay, what is the real electroculture? The real, okay, I will talk about the real. The real electroculture, the most perfect antenna that could ever be created has already been perfected, and it is called a plant. It is called a tree. It is called the root system of the plant that is harnessing atmospheric energy and pumping it into the ground. We call this atmospheric energy carbon, and it pumps it into the ground in the form of root exudates, where it locks it into the soil and it changes the structure of the soil. It's almost miraculous. I mean, it's almost just totally magic, but it's real. And plants are doing it every day, all around us, all the time. So that's the real electroculture, is that the plants have already done it and perfected it. There's no amount of mining copper or any kind of man-made thing that is going to improve on that. You can't, because it's nature, okay? You have to understand. Okay, Matt G again says, stop talking about fake electroculture. Okay, I don't really get what that means, because I just did, because the real electroculture is all around us. I mean, look out right now, guys. Look out your window, and you can just see the trees are bursting with life right now. I was just at my brother's place of work. He's an air traffic controller, and we went up for a little tour into the tower. And you look out, and you just see the trees are just so nice and exploding. I mean, they are in a symbiosis with the earth and with the atmosphere. Because part of them, they split the difference. They straddle the line between the grounding and the atmosphere. And so they are harnessing things from the atmosphere, also harnessing things from the earth, pumping it both ways. Yes, mining minerals and then storing them in their leaves, dropping them in the ground to become minerals again, storing them in their leaves. You see, if you speed up this process, it is like a toroidal energy field like this. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to see the most miraculous electroculture you could ever conceive of, go into your garden and you'll see it. Yes. So, yes. Yes. Let's see. Why? Wild Bill says, how many electroculture people are flat earth people? Haha. Yeah, I know. You know, the earth thing, people ask me that all the time for some reason. What do you think the earth is flat or not? And why do so many people ask that? Because to me, honestly, I don't know. I've not been, I just don't know. And I don't care to know because it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, I know what I think. I mean, the spherical earth and all of that makes really good sense to me. And that's pretty much what I believe, of course. And I believe the planetary systems and all of this kind of stuff. And I just don't see, yeah, why do so many people ask me that? But the thing is, yeah, I don't know for absolute sure. I've never been in a space and I've never seen it myself, really. Although I have been in a plane and all of this kind of stuff. It just makes good sense. So I don't really. Okay, Matt G says, again, says, stop talking about fake electroculture. Talk about real electroculture like charged water from the thunderstorm. Yes, definitely, guys. Lightning storms can be totally different. And there's definitely effects from all of that. I'm not an expert on that, but I do know that things grow really fantastic after a storm. But I think a big part of it is the wonderful rain. But I do believe that, of course, there is elements. There's other elements, maybe nitrogen. I don't know the exact process by which that would work. But I do know for sure that things love a good thunderstorm. The plants love a thunderstorm, especially if it's a gentle one, where it's getting gentle but kind of consistent rain, where the clouds aren't moving that fast. They're just kind of moving a little bit slow, but there's nice lightning, the thunder and stuff. Oh man, the plants love that. I love that. Everything loves that. Is that electroculture? Is that the real electrical? Maybe. Sure. Why not? You know? Doing freaky things, says Viking. I have invasive bamboo. What part of it and at what growth stage can I use it to make nitrogen fertilizer? Try to get it as young as possible. Try to get it before it is turned woody. That's important. Try to get it before it's turned woody. But if it's, because the woody part, you know how the new ones are growing and green, the old ones are brown. Don't bother with the old ones. The new green ones is what you want. So yes, that's what you want. Tree Rogi says, it is flat, talking about the Earth. And Australia is on the end. Ooh. RK says, just watch how the sun moves. It's spherical. Yeah, it's my instincts. Everything tells me that it all makes sense. Spherical. I mean, everything is cyclical. When we look at nature, we can observe the cyclical nature of everything. And so that would make sense that on every scale, it is relatively similar. And so, it just makes sense. I don't know why. So what? Okay, so if it was flat, if the Earth was flat, okay, and I'm just humoring this, what difference would that make? I mean, what would that really change about your life? That you have to like be a huge proponent of the Earth is flat or the Earth isn't flat. What is that going to really change about your level of happiness in reality? How is that going to improve the lives of your family and friends? How is that going to really matter? Why giving it so much energy? So let's see. Spencer says, lightning can split nitrogen gas into nitrate and provide a little to the plants. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. That sounds, now I haven't looked that up, I don't know, but it sounds right. Lightning can split nitrogen gas into nitrate and provide a little to the plants. Okay, so that would give us some, okay, yes. That, if that is true, which it sort of sounds like it probably could be, then we would say, yes, that would be why one reason things grow really well after the thunderstorms. But if you guys watch my electroculture video, you can see my garden. And it's just, I mean, it's exploding with life. And so, yes. let's see here. Scott Miller says, you really are a Viking. You won't fall off the edge, I promise. Nice. Yeah, even if we do, doesn't matter. My ancestors had to set sail and go and find out. They just had to go there to find out for sure. They said, yeah, I don't think that we're going to fall off the edge of the earth if we head west. I think that we will find land. So that's what we're going to do. Let's see here. Hans Ketchup says, you never want to combine copper with electroculture with thunderstorms. Not good. The wires become lightning rods. Not good. Yes. Well, guys, actually, there has been, man, I got so many correspondences from people telling me, oh, that you're doing it wrong. You have to wind it. You're making sky motors that you have to wind it at exactly 8, parsecs per like, guys, and talking about how specific all this other stuff had to be, all these little things. And like any good kind of, I'm not going to call electroculture a scam, but like any good kind of hustle, there's always the out. There's always the, well, you didn't get the results because you didn't do it right. Okay, because what you actually got to do is you got to do it this other. See, oh, you didn't do it right. Yeah, okay, I don't think so. I did it right enough, okay, to know. So Matt G says, Nate, we can charge the water like the thunderstorms. Okay, maybe that's true, but why? Why do we need to? Because nothing like that has been used on my garden here or any of the gardens that I've ever been a part of. Yet I've grown amazing stuff. I mean, I'm saying, guys, when I was growing in Northern California, it was high stakes, and I was paid unbelievable amounts of money at the time to grow, because that was what was happening at the time. It was super high stakes. And so and my particular skill set was very highly sought after among this circle of people, these circles of people. And so, yeah, of course, through a series of very poor life decisions, this is 10 years ago now, through a series of poor life decisions, all of that money is, I have nothing to show for that time in life other than the knowledge and the skills acquired, and because of the poor life decisions, the wisdom acquired. That's what I have to show for it. And so here we are. So most people aren't going to take growing nearly as seriously as I do, because the school that I developed all of these skills and this sort of passion and all of that, the school that I learned all of this in was just totally different. I mean, completely high stakes, okay? If you want to even begin to dip into any of it, you can watch the documentary Murder Mountain, which Murder Mountain was just right on the other side of the 101 from the area where I was at, But that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface, guys. Anyways, and that's another thing. If any of this stuff would have worked, you could guarantee it that we'd be doing it, because anything that would get us even one more gram, we would have done it. And if this has any kind of validity to it, there would have had, because there was unlimited money at the time, virtually. You could just grow more money. So it was like we would have bought a copper plant, a copper producing plant. It would have been in Humboldt County, and there would have been millions of these all over the place. And the taller you make it, the more benefit. Then you would have seen them out of sight. You would have seen them 800 feet tall with guy wires coming down and everything. I guarantee it. But none of that ever happened because it doesn't work. VA Green right here, okay, says for them to say it was their best garden in years, it could just be a good year. There's so many variables. That is the heart of the entire thing right there. Thank you. And that is what I try to show in my electroculture video, is that Tree Rogi says, Nate, electroculture made your blood pressure grow. Case closed. Yeah, a little bit. But inside, I'm still perfectly equanimous, of course. But for them to say, yeah, so much of what they're saying is just describing the natural variation in plants. It is so like if you watch my electroculture video, you can see. And so out here out front, I have this Miscanthus giganteus grass, which gets like 14 feet tall, super beautiful and luscious. But the right side is always about that tall, and then the left side, it goes down, down, down until on the far end, it's only just about 2 feet tall. Now, if we wanted to believe that electroculture did something, then we could see, because I placed an antenna that was wound the wrong way near that grass. Okay, it was actually in the marigolds. So if we were looking at that, we would say, well, see, it was wound the wrong way, and so it was pulling energy from the grass. You see? But that's actually not what happened, because we can understand that what actually made the difference is the massive fennel plant that was right there. And certain varieties of fennel can produce allelopathic effects that inhibit the growth of grasses like that one. And that is the only reason that is not growing any taller. And it happens the same every year. Every year that happens exactly like that. It had nothing to do with electroculture antenna being wound the wrong way. All the other plants that were there did just as good as they always do. So we have to use our mind. We have to use the common sense that is instilled within our gut. And if you guys would like to talk more about stuff like this, common sense kind of stuff, and living life from the heart instead of so much from the brain, then every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on my brand new channel, Thrive Like a Viking, we have a live Q&A where we talk about all different kinds of stuff. And we start with a 10-minute guided meditation, and then we talk about all different other kind of stuff. Yes? So you guys can join us there. Let's see. Okay, Evan Taylor says, no offense, globe believers are godless. Globe believers are godless. If you claim to believe in the one true God, the Father, and you believe in the globe, you ignore the first page of Genesis. Don't be offended, y'all. Hey, you are perfectly entitled to that opinion, my friend. And I understand that you believe that. And that doesn't do anything to me. So Ms. P says, let's talk about garden planning. It's complicated to decide what, when, and where when considering the plant's preferences. Good, poor companions, best time to plant for the various plants. Ooh, that's a big topic. Big topic, my friend. Where are you at, though? I think, your season is approaching its sunset. Is that right? Because garden planning, yeah, that's a very big topic, but that is definitely important. So I don't have nothing's coming up at the moment. Brian says, I can't imagine putting that much copper in my garden. The only thing I would grow would be crackheads stealing my copper. Yeah, really. Well, and that's the thing, guys. You can't, it's totally unsustainable. Copper mining is one of the most destructive things that the human endeavor does. And just look up how does copper mining affect the environment? And it releases all kinds of highly toxic stuff. And then look up, just Google the pictures of the copper mines. I mean, they look like an asteroid hit the earth at every one of those copper mines. And they're all over the place, you know? So it's, yes. Okay, Iman says, love your honest review of electroculture. Thank you. For me, it appears to provide a solid 25% growth over last year. However, too many variables to really know. Okay, yes. Well, I appreciate that level-headed response as well, and that's what we have to say. We have to say, okay, were there any other variables? Now, I've been doing it for many years, and so I know I know that there was no other. This was a very conclusive experiment for me. And so I know, but for a lot of people that might not have that kind of experience with it, then they could have, if they're utilizing any of these practices from this channel, if they're cover cropping, if they've got manures, if they're adding any of the liquid fertilizers, I guarantee you that is what's doing it, not the antenna. It might appear that way, but what would actually be doing it is the fertilizers that you've made, the life in the soil that you got up, that you have been nurturing. Miss KC says, last week's Monday Live was great. I felt so energized and calm after the meditation. Yes, my friends. Every Monday at 10:30 Eastern Time, and thrive like a Viking channel. Let's see here. And Queen RB, you wanted to talk plants. Queen RB, you wanted to talk plants? Oh, is that right? Queen RB? Say it again. I can't see the comment. Big West says, I like to work outside at night. Also makes people wonder about me. Oh, I bet. I live across the street from a crack house, so I walk tough for show. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Ooh, that's a good one. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. That's a good one. Queen RB says, can we move back to gardening? Yeah, really. Yeah, I know. But this has been part of gardening. This has taken the gardening community by storm the past 3 months. Although so many of the people, some people have actually deleted their comments from the original video after the results video came out. And I know this because I take pictures of all of it. Let's see. Look to Nature Homestead says, Freebird, my garden totally changed face after becoming a student of JDOM. Definitely, man. This is what definitely is going to have huge amounts of benefit to your garden. Hans Ketchup says, electroculture is aimed at people who don't want to put in the time and effort. Making great soil is not easy and doesn't happen overnight, but great soil is worth it. Definitely worth it. Yes, this is sort of, it boils down to that it is a bit of work, especially at first when you're growing the soil. But once you've established the right conditions and the environment for the microbes to thrive, then it becomes somewhat self-sustaining. And it just gets more and more fertile and rich. So that now it's, like I said, guys, this year I haven't even had to add any of the real fertilizers. I've added aerated compost teas, a couple of different recipes which I have been perfecting for you guys, recipes from the Northern California learning grounds, but I tweaked them a little bit for the home garden. And so once your soil's on point, you got the right house for the microorganisms and stuff, it's really just topping up everything with the good, rich microbial life. Just making sure that the diversity is there. That's what you want. That's the key to everything, is the plethora, the diversity, because everything will keep other things in check. And so you can help bolster that through your work, your practices. And this is important. Grant says, food web gardening works. Got that right, my friend. Let's see. Shalma Ahad says, I'm happy to be able to catch part of your live today. I made calcium acetate and can still taste the vinegar after 12 days. Not as strong, but still taste bit vinegar. Is that normal? Yes. It can taste a bit vinegar still. It's all right. So if it's been 12 days, it doesn't 100% neutralize the taste of the vinegar. But make sure you give it a good stir a couple of times, and then it will be good. Give it a good stir and let it settle back down, strain it out, and everything is going to be good. Mel's Variety says, love your channels. Great information. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Let's see here. Marty says, question, how long do you cure potatoes before you store them for winter? About 2 weeks. But here's the thing, guys, with potatoes, if you want winter storing potatoes, here's what you do. You allow the potatoes to grow and allow them to start to die back. They will look like they got blight. They will catch blight. Potatoes are sickly looking plants. After the first half of their life, they pretty much always look kind of sickly. But just allow them to die back until the whole thing is totally brown. and still don't dig them up. I'm talking if you want the longest storage, leave them in the ground wherever they were growing. Just leave them there until a week, until just a few weeks before your first frost, and then dig them up and let them dry for about a week at least. And that is going to help their skins to dry out and to harden. Do not rinse them off or anything, but the whole secret is to leave them in the ground as long as possible, because they will stay rock solid. So if your plants are dead now, the potatoes, and you dig them up, then that is going to break their dormancy. And as soon as you dig up the potato, the clock starts ticking. Okay, and so you want to make that clock start as late as possible. Dig them up in late September. For here, it will be like September. And they will be perfectly fine, totally dormant in their area until then. Then cure them or dry them for about a week, maybe 10 days. But also leaving them in the ground like that is going to help their skins to cure naturally as well. Because the potato is a storehouse of solar energy. It captures the energy that captures the energy from the sun, and it stores it essentially in the tuber underground, so that next year the plant can begin a new growth like that. And so it's a storehouse of solar energy, and it will stay dormant and remain that way so long as the conditions are as close to being underground as what the plant would find underground as possible. But remember, once you pull them up, the clock starts ticking. So you can leave them in the ground. Nancy says, is that also true for sweet potatoes? Sweet potatoes are grown differently, actually. It depends on what zone you're at, because if you're in the tropical zones or places where it doesn't really frost, then they're going to grow like weeds. They're going to grow nonstop. They don't have a natural cycle where they die back. So, yeah, sweet potatoes are a bit different. Watch the videos that I did. Sue Miller says, just dug the potatoes yesterday. Should I throw them in a hole until winter? Well, it depends on how many you have. If you so if you just dug them up yesterday, then you can let them dry and then put them in as close to freezing without freezing. If you can put it in a place that's like 40 degrees, like the crisper of a refrigerator, then that would really be ideal. And so you should, you can do that. But I wouldn't throw them in a hole, because then they tend to attract mice and rats will eat them. Dawn says, question, my Jadam herbal solution now has a little bit of mold on top. Should I discard it? I made it a few months ago with ginkgo berries and stored the bottles on their sides. I don't know what went wrong. Yes, so watch my Jerusalem artichoke video and you will see that I actually straight up pressure can the solution. So that's the only way to make it. That's the only way to make it, because if it's just sitting there in bottles, it's going to mold. So you got to use it before that happens. So yeah, it's going to start fermenting now that you see the mold. It's going to start turning. So once you see it, you just want to make new stuff. So that's what you want to do. But if you actually pressure can it, it will stay for a very long time. Let's see, there was a tip up here I think I missed. Mick Hegarty, good to see you, my friend. $20. Thank you for being you, he says. Yes, thank you for the contribution, my friend. Let us see. Elizabeth Hendricks, hello, my friend. Says, Thrive Like a Viking channel is awesome. Wish I could attend at that time. Just watching the video after has changed my life for sure. Thank you, Nate. You are very welcome, Elizabeth, and thank you for all the thoughtful things you have sent to me, guys. Elizabeth is a very thoughtful person. There is no doubt about that. You can tell by all the things that she has sent and the letter that she has written to me. So thank you. If you guys would like to send anything, you can send it to Garden Like a Viking at P.O. Box 9101, Fort Wayne, Indiana 46899. Yes. And this is the thing. It's also in the About section of my of this page. So yes, you can send whatever you want to there. If it's a live plant or something, let me know though, because I need to make sure I don't let it sit there any longer than necessary. Let's see. Lisa of Light says, my first year in a new home, lifeless compacted soil, conditioned it with JDOM, grass fertilizer, free horse manure, and free mulch from our local power company. Amazing results. Thank you, Nate. Yes, that's what it's all about, Lisa. You are on the right track. Getting that stuff growing. Get the life happening. And if you can, work with cover crops as well. Be planting the cover crops in the off season. That is going to help nourish the life in the soil. Because remember, only a living root being in the ground can build soil. Nothing else can actually build the structure, can actually build the soil. Because soil building is a plant-driven process where the plant captures carbon out of the atmosphere and pumps it into the earth, where it remains until it's disturbed. And so this is the most perfect antenna that exists. Okay, guys? So here we are. Thank you guys for chatting. This has been a passionate one, but I'm so happy that I'm able to talk to you guys now about electroculture, give my honest thoughts, and they've been validated by myself, by my own experimentations. I can know for sure. Because there's no way I could say all the things that I've said so far and say that if it was not true. If there was even a slightest shred of results or proof, then that it would have totally changed my tune. But there wasn't. Of course there wasn't, guys. So Freebird says, Nate, will you do a video on preparing sweet potatoes when you dig yours up? Yes, I can do that. I will, yes, because I actually discovered a much more effective way of curing them. Because the past couple of years, I've just been putting them in my vehicle in the blazing sun and letting them cure that way. But I found a much better way this year. So you guys are going to like it, definitely. Very important to cure the sweet potatoes. More important than any other thing is the sweet potato cure. Because that is when the sweet potato will convert many of its starches into sugars. So a lot of the sweet potatoes, if they haven't been cured properly, they will not really be sweet. They'll just be kind of, if you're with a proper cure, they will be nice and sweet and they will stay all winter long. Stone Creek says, Nate, after charging and using biochar, does it lose its charge after time? No, because it's going to help to, well, it depends on what your surrounding soil is, but if you're utilizing good practices, then no. It's once it's charged, it's going to just be nourishing the life in the soil, and it's going to be there for a long time, okay? And, all right, guys, so get fermenting the cucumbers. I'll make the video on fermented stone ground mustard pretty soon. This stuff is amazing and stays for a long time. And be getting ready for the kimchi. This is from last year, guys. This has been out in the basement on the shelf for about 10 months. And then I just put it into this jar about 2 weeks ago and put it in the refrigerator. Other than that, this kimchi has been out on the shelf for 10 months. And it's perfectly good. This is the ancient techniques of storage. These can be out on the shelf for several months, not quite 10 months, but several months, definitely. So get you fermenting, guys, okay? So thank you guys to everyone who's put the donations, the tips. Thank you guys for using the link in the description to make a donation to the PayPal account. Thank you for using any of the links in the description because I get a little kickback from I'm not part of the Amazon thing, you know. And I just put you guys in the description of the videos. I just put links to stuff that I know works, stuff that I've already sorted out and that I know is quality. And because that's important to me, it's important. And I will see you guys here next Saturday at 12 noon Eastern time. And or if you'd like to talk spirituality and meditation and sort of working with the subconscious mind and all of these forces, you can check us out on my brand new channel, Thrive Like a Viking, where we do a guided meditation for 10 minutes, give or take, in the beginning, and then we discuss things and we just see where it goes. So it's been really fantastic, okay? And I think that's it. Stay loyal to the soil, my friends.